We should start by introducing Runecast. So what is it that your company do?
So a little bit of a backstory. So myself and the rest of the co-founders, we used to work for IBM for quite a lot of years, for about 9 years. And this is where we founded the VMware Center of Excellence. So VMware is the leader in virtualization that's used by the Fortune 1000 companies. We had to build VMware infrastructures, we had to troubleshoot them, and we realized that we are very reactive to problems that are happening, like outages or security problems or compliance problems. So we decided to build a product that is proactively using all the information on the internet, like knowledge base articles, security guidelines, best practices, to proactively find problems in the customer IT infrastructure and to help them fix those problems before they actually cause a security issue or outage.
So you wanted to be a few steps ahead.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long did it take to land your first paying customer, and who was it?
Yeah, so the first paying customer, so we launched Runecast, we founded the company end of 2014. It took us 1 year to build the MVP, to release first version, and September 2015 we released. And first customer was December 2015, so it took about 3 months. I mean, first paying customer. Obviously we had, in the slides some logos of customers, but they were not really paying ones. You have to start somewhere. The first customer was German Aerospace. So they're the ones that landed a probe on a comet, and they're doing a lot of interesting space projects. So they're the first paying customer and still a customer of Runecast, actually, after so many years. So.
Great. And what about your first investment?
Yeah, the first investment was 2014, pretty much when we started. It was an accelerator called Opifer. I think they're not operating anymore, but we met them at a conference in Prague. So it was really the first startup conference we went to. So we were not participating as pitching, but we had our slides printed, going around, just talking to people. And actually in the after party, so remember after parties are very important, is when we met somebody from Opifer, and we realized they're based in Brno. So when we were back, we met, we spoke about it, and yeah.
As you mentioned, you managed to quickly secure major clients worldwide, but also investors. So how did you earn their trust so early on?
I think there are several aspects. First of all, there's always some customers where there will be internal champion there that are more of an innovator. So they're your biggest chance of signing up to something new. But overall, you try to build credibility in any possible way. So we have been in the VMware community for a very long time. We knew a lot of people there. And we went to the big VMware conferences. We presented there as innovators. So we wanted to get the VMware community very excited because they're big decision influencers in also these big enterprises. So I think gathering a lot of fans there in this community that are decision influencers really helped us secure some deals very early on, basically.
But also you, as a founders, you also have a credibility from your IBM work, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people start right out of college, and we were in the corporate world for quite some time. We gained a lot of certificates. We obviously built something that was a pain in our own day-to-day life. So we really were also our own customer. We understood what they really needed. So any way you can build credibility is really important.
I've read that originally you hoped to build up the company and exit within 2 years, aiming for 2 million in revenue, but it ended up taking a decade. Why is that?
I mean, the exit, yeah, when we exited, we were over 5 billion already of revenue, but I think it was our first company that we built, and I think a lot of people get into it thinking that it's going to be a quick ride, and their idea is so amazing that it's going to sell like hot bread, and when you sell to enterprises, that's not really the case. So we had to go through the whole process and a lot of learning along the way, and gradually really build this momentum. So.
Just a quick reminder for you in the audience, you can also ask questions throughout the Eventy app if you want to. But speaking of exit, your investors didn't pressure you to sell the company. They gave you full freedom. What ultimately convinced you to sell Runecast to Dynatrace?
There were a lot of aspects. So, if you build something for so many years, it's like your baby. So it's not an easy decision. Obviously, the financial part is a factor, right? So it was a really good offer. Let's mention that and set it aside. But what I really liked is Dynatrace as a company also. I knew that at some point we're either going to go public or be acquired by a bigger vendor. And Dynatrace has very similar story to Runecast. So Runecast was born in Brno, and Dynatrace was born in Linz, Austria, which is even smaller town than Brno, and still it has there the biggest development center. And the main founder is still with the company. So we spent a few days with him and the team in Linz, and we realized that we have the same mindset, that it's really, the company is very similar in terms of values and how they approach things. And it just really felt like the right home for Runecast. So that was a big factor, that it was specifically Dynatrace.
Yeah. But you had an option to pursue another round of investment. So why did you choose to sell over further funding?
So yeah,
was it because the Dynatrace and the similar values?
It was exactly. It was a big factor. Actually, we started fundraising end of 2023, and it was probably the worst time, if you remember, because the markets really went down, and the investment valuations went down. The money, the VC started really holding the money, and we also realized that our numbers are not optimal at the time. So really, we started optimizing a lot of things in the company to start to be more efficient, and we were really successful. So it was really, I think we did a great job. And when you start fundraising, especially when you're at the around 5 million annual recurring revenue mark, you also start to get noticed by potential acquirers. We actually received also a couple of other offers. One was from a private equity. And none of them were as appealing, both the valuation, but also really the future that we imagine with that particular company. So, I mean, but to your question, yeah, it's not an easy choice, but really the fact that it was Dynatrace, we didn't want to miss the opportunity to be part of this company.
Yeah, that's a good reason. During the exit, what challenges did you face? I can imagine a lot of them.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, for those that are not familiar, before the exit, first you negotiate the main parameters. Obviously, there is a term sheet. I mean, it's very similar to investment round. Actually, everything was super confidential. There was only a few people in the company that knew about it. So everybody else thought that we are preparing for investment round. Then once you sign the letter of intent, there is a very, very deep due diligence process, right? So Dynatrace had hired, I think it was more than 30 lawyers, and also many different parts of Deloitte externally to do the financial due diligence. So it was really, in the first week, maybe we uploaded more than 2,000 documents to the data room, different contracts, basically different financials, anything you can possibly imagine. So it was a very physically and mentally exhausting process. Yeah, that was, I would say, the main challenge. And also the negotiations of some of the parameters of the acquisition don't end up with the letter of intent. I didn't know that. Like, you actually keep negotiating different parts of how the transaction exactly is going to happen. So, and you have to do this in parallel with going through due diligence. So yeah, it was a very, very intensive
Sounds
process.
like a tricky ride. But Runecast didn't go through the typical M&A process, mergers and acquisitions process, with an investment banker. Why is that? You didn't need one? You didn't want one?
I mean, yeah, we first didn't, we didn't, let's say, come together and say, we're going to go and sell the company, because our main priority was to go and get an investment round. So this interest came kind of in parallel. And at some point on board level, we were thinking whether to hire an investment banker. And I spoke to a few, they were pretty helpful, but one of the things is we thought the investment banker could delay things, especially with Dynatrace. Again, coming back to the fact that we were really persuaded they're the right home for Runecast. And also, I got, by the way, support from people like Jiří Tobola from JIC, who has gone through the process also himself without hiring an investment banker. So he was really helpful. And actually, when speaking to some investment bankers, when we were talking about what valuation, they essentially help you get the highest price, pretty much. That's what they're there for. The valuation that they were mentioning, I was persuaded I can achieve better than what they could achieve, and they will get quite a good chunk of as a commission. And that's actually what happened. So the valuation they were telling me is realistic. We ended up with higher than that. So I'm personally glad we didn't go with investment banker, but I'm definitely, they're smart people. I'm not against them at all. So if anybody is at a point where they have fully decided they will go for selling the company, I think it's good to engage somebody, definitely.
Yeah. That's an advice for future founders who want to sell their company.
If there's anybody in the audience that's planning to do that.
I think there's a few.
Yeah.
Okay, so the sales process of Runecast spent, I can only imagine, a few very intense weeks. But once it was all over, instead of relief or sadness, you said that you felt pride.
Yeah. It was, I mean, first, for the whole thing, it's a very emotional process.
Was it for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, because it's really a big part of your life. And also there are a lot of people involved. Actually, one of the things I was most proud of is the people we attracted with Runecast. So the Runecasters, some of them in the audience, actually. And I was very proud that we did things our way. There's one book by this VIC Andersen, that is what you do is who you are. Basically, it's about building culture within a company, and the whole notion of the book is pretty much culture cannot be artificially built, but you kind of imprint your thinking, your mindset, the things you do, people follow, or that's the type of people you attract. So first and foremost, I was very proud of the people we attracted, what we built with the customers that we got, which are all kinds of industries, from defense to healthcare to financial. Very proud that we could go through such an intensive due diligence process. Actually, our share purchase agreement was 130 pages, which was the corporate development person on the Dynatrace side. She has been through more than 200 transactions before. She said it's the longest share purchase agreement she has seen. So I was also happy that we could go through this crazy due diligence and acquisition process as well. So really a lot of things, but that was kind of the main
initial
feeling.
strong emotion.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. You seem very calm and collected now, and apparently, and Jirko Tobola confirmed it, that you were very well prepared for the exit. Do you have any secrets or any key to do that?
I think, well, first of all, what really prepared us is the fact that we're preparing for investment round, and we already had a quite good portion of the data room, and we had things organized already. We were ready with all the numbers. We could justify all the numbers that we have. But also, I have a very good support network, and this is very important for anybody that's a founder to have support network outside the company.
You mean like family, friends?
I mean mostly, well, that's important, of course, as well. But sometimes you cannot control that part. Yeah. But mainly other founders or ex-founders. So because they have all been going through different things or maybe similar things that you've been through. for example, Jiří Tobol that I mentioned, he was the CEO of Lomon, so that they also did both security and operations, so he has gone through a very similar path. So I think speaking to all of these people regularly and over the years, it really, I was more or less familiar with what awaits, basically, and what I can expect.
Yeah, and Jiří Tobla also told me that you were one of the most well-prepared CEOs for the exit. So I just wanted to get a grip on the mental preparation.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe also what he meant, because we had private conversations about this, is that a lot of founders, when they get acquired, it might sound strange to everyone here, but they get into depression after that.
Because it's their baby.
Yeah, I guess so. Plus, they're used to make all the decisions. They're used to be free to control the path of the company, it's a very big switch, basically. So, and I've heard this from many people, including Jiří and other friends that exited. So I knew what to expect. Plus, I've been with IBM for 9 years, which was a company of 400,000 people. So I know how corporate works. And Dynatrace is nowhere near that size. It's close to 5,000 people. So I knew where to set the threshold of not getting into disappointment or depression or anything like that. So I think that's what he meant by that I was more prepared than others. Yeah. I was not naive of what will happen after the acquisition.
With that said, what's life like post-exit for you?
Yeah, I can honestly say that it's good. Yeah, to knock on wood. For one reason, it's the fact that I was prepared to what's to come, and of course, there's always different angles on how to see things. So I try to appreciate what I've gained through this acquisition, and I have to go back to, I really think Dynatrace is a good company and really like-minded people, so that's really helpful. And yeah, there is definitely less pressure, right? Because when you're founder and CEO, you always have to keep on back of your head, will we have enough money for 3 months from now, 5 months from now? So it's always, actually, I did feel, some relief after. I always say I felt relief of a pressure I didn't know I had. So it was somehow in the background that you always have to be on your toes about everything. And now, there's other people driving. I'm trying to contribute as much as possible.
So you are still in Runecast?
Runecast is now part of Dynatrace. So we actually recently even renamed Runecast Czech Republic to Dynatrace Czech Republic. But yeah, I'm still there. I'm working with making sure that we're integrating the Runecast product into Dynatrace. We're still selling Runecast separately. It's wildly successful. I'm also happy to see our baby, now on an even bigger stage, and opening doors for someone like Dynatrace. And yeah, it is a good period, I should say. Yeah.
Did you take a long, well-deserved vacation?
Probably not as long, but yeah. I was advised a few times. In hindsight, probably I should have taken like 1 or 2 months. I didn't do that. But yeah, like a couple of weeks ago, we were in Italy, swimming in the sea.
Oh, sounds lovely.
Close to Naples, so yeah, it was nice.
Okay. So Stan, thank you for answering my questions, but we have a few questions from the audience, so let's take a look at them. First one. As a team, all foreigners, have you experienced any challenges, barriers because of Czech language, culture, or bias? That's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's a good one, and the answer is no. And I'm so grateful for that, because I mean, all of us have been here for a while, but our Czech is not that great. I mean, I can have a basic conversation, but it's just a testament how much you can achieve, or what Czech Republic has provided as foundation and support to be able to succeed on the international scene without even speaking Czech. So that's kind of mind-blowing. I think that's many people don't probably realize. So, but yeah, plus, quite honestly, when we started, our mindset was already on the global. So we didn't, like many companies, start with the Czech market and then move outside, but we already started signing up international customers.
Next one, what is the growth area that grabs your attention at the moment that you are interested in and why?
Yeah, I probably shouldn't start talking about AI because everyone's talking about it. Obviously, it's a big thing.
If it is an answer to this question, I think you should.
I mean, probably the answer I would give is more boring because it's more in the space where I'm involved. A lot of capabilities are converging on the security and observability space. So now as Dynatrace, we're emerging as the leader in security and observability. So which will become, I think, mandatory 5 years from now. So this is something I'm focused on, and it's exciting, at least for me.
Can you find the necessary talent in the local market for your next phase of growth? Please say yes.
Yes. Yeah, I see that it's from Frank. Yeah, we just had a conversation about this. I don't know how many of you probably know about IBM and Kyndryl and how this whole story evolved, but I came here beginning of 2006 when I think IBM was less than 1,000 people. By the time I left in 2014, it was about 4,000. And they attracted a lot of foreigners like me in Brno, and I think that was the beginning of really bringing a lot of IT talent in Brno. And yeah, I think that it's always challenging to find developers because there are a lot of competitors. Obviously, yeah, you have Red Hat and SolarWinds and everybody else. So it's challenging for sure.
Yeah, but we are happy to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, another interesting question. How did you approach to merge company cultures, and what have to be done to integrate your teams to large US company?
So the company technically is American because it's headquartered in the US, but actually the DNA is largely Austrian. So the mindset is not that different. Even when we had the initial meetings and we were going to Linz or they were coming to Brno later on, we have a lot of the same traditions in Czech Republic, in Austria. So the mindset was really, really similar. The leadership and a lot of the sales and marketing is in the US. And they basically are kind of trying to introduce some of the American style of doing things. But really the DNA is Austrian, I should say, still. Yeah. So it wasn't such a challenge. Yeah,
okay. And do you face challenges being seen as East European company? In my experience, there is often this bias, even the Czech Republic is so far from the East European region.
Yes, I actually, even like years later, I was at a conference in Sydney, in Australia, and we were already a few million in revenue. We had really good customers, and one of the guys approached me and said, hey, like in the beginning, we all thought that you guys are going to be here just for 1 year, some guys from Eastern Europe. So there is, of course, some preconception. I didn't feel it before, but I guess it's kind of a little bit behind the scenes. But yeah, once you start showing these logos and once you have amazing capabilities, then that changes things. So one thing maybe to mention that was advised by our accelerator, the initial legal entity that we registered was in the UK, in London, with that preemptively to showcase that we're a London company, a UK company. And then we registered the Czech Republic one as a subsidiary to the UK one. So
probably a good strategy. So, okay, the last question. How likely will you start a new startup in the future?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. That's the honest answer, because my approach typically, and that goes back to, this depression thing I mentioned, is that I want to focus in being in the moment, and I take it as, okay, I am now in Dynatrace. I have some commercial agreement with them to be there for another few years, and I just don't think beyond. So I'm just focusing on, contributing maximum there, and we'll see after what happens.
well, good luck in
Thank you.
anything that you decide to do. Thank you for sharing your insights, point of views. It was wonderful to have you on stage.
Likewise, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Stan Markov, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.